Stranded colorwork is something I enjoy, but I don't do it very often. Living in southern Arizona, we just don't need heavy sweaters and hats that much. But I've decided I'm going to start ignoring that fact, and this is the reason why. This is the Knitovation Stitch Dictionary by Andrea Rangel, and it's a great volume to add to your library regardless of your experience level. You knitters who are old hats at Colorwork will find the motif collection in this thing refreshing and entertaining, and you newer knitters who haven't taken the plunge yet will be very happy to hear that it also contains a lot of great how-to information in addition to the fun designs. Let me take you guys on a tour and explain why I recommend it so highly. I wanted to explore this thing from cover to cover the moment I laid eyes on it. I mean, really, how could I not? It has rubber duckies and dragons on the front cover. The layout and format is pretty standard, which is fine by me. It makes it really easy to find what you need in the book. The introduction is a very reasonable length and has a very friendly, casual, and honest tone and is full of encouragement, and I felt that boded well for the rest of the book. The first full chapter is all about choosing appropriate yarns for a given project and how various fiber contents and fiber preparations affect the look of your fabric. The author also included a section she called the Yarn Gallery. It shows swatches made from wools of a variety of different sheep breeds and other fiber contents, and it also includes write-ups on their pros and cons, and she ends the chapter with a nice little sheet of elements to consider before you dive into a project. Chapter 2 is the Motif collection, and it is way too easy to lose time thumbing through all of these pages. I honestly think this would make a great coffee table book. The photography is top-notch, and even non-knitters are bound to get a kick out of at least some of the designs. There are plenty of floral and botanical motifs, some more traditional and some more modern. There are a very reasonable number of geometric patterns and a decent selection of great all-over patterns, whether you are looking for something more linear or a little more organic. I have to say, though, where this collection really shines, in my opinion, is in the novelty department. In the introduction, the author mentions how much fun she and her husband had creating this book, and I feel like it really shows. Some of my personal favorites are Puzzle, The Snails and Nautilus, Socks, Crabs, Gnomes, and The Deep. If you want to get a little cheeky, there are Toilets, 8 Balls and Eyeballs, Kissy Lips, Flying Pigs, and Toast. If you want a little more edgy, there are Scorpions, Snakes, Fires, and Gas Masks. And there are, of course, plenty of cute and fun little things for kids' clothes like helicopters and planes, trains and boats, dinosaurs and butterflies, turtles and fairies, and on and on. It is truly amazing how good a job this book does of having something for just about everyone. Chess, anybody? While filming my Magic Loop for Colorwork Sleeves episode, I gave the Aspen motif from page 29 a test drive, and I really like how it turned out. Now, please be aware that the motifs in this book are all charted, not written out. If you have never followed charts, please don't be discouraged. Instead, consider using this book to introduce yourself to using charts. Each of these designs only requires 2 colors, and there are a few really simple motifs you could start with to get the hang of things, like leaflets on page 33 or the crescent moon on page 58. My only major criticism of this book really is the lack of a how to read and use chart section. So please stick with me to the end of this episode. I am going to run through the basics with you so you can use this book if you choose to pick up a copy. What this book does contain in chapters 3 and 4 are patterns utilizing some of the motifs, along with an abbreviations legend and a techniques glossary covering things like how to hold your yarn, what floats are, and how to manage them. She also covers the bind-offs, cast-ons, increases and decreases, and short row methods appropriate to the patterns included in the book. Plus, there is a page on duplicate stitch that demonstrates how to add more color to your motifs without having to knit with more than 2 colors. I personally love duplicate stitch. Don't work harder than you really have to, right? Before we go through some Colorwork chart basics, there is one more small element hiding at the back of this book that I really want you to know about, and that is the stitch count and row count indexes on pages 156 and 157. Using these lists could make it a lot easier to integrate these motifs into other projects. Imagine you have a pattern for a simple pullover that you want to dress up with some color work, maybe around the bottom hem and at the cuffs. You can look at the number of stitches and rows you will have available on your garment and reference these pages to quickly figure out which motifs are compatible instead of burning time time thumbing back and forth through the collection trying to identify possibilities. It was a very thoughtful feature to include, but it could be very easy to miss seeing here at the very back of the publication. That's the end of the review part of this video. If you have decided that yes, you definitely want to pick up a copy or gift it to another knitter in your life, there is a link to it in the episode description down below. For those of you who have never used Colorwork charts before, let's go through the small handful of things that you need to know. Here is a very simple knitting Colorwork graph that I found on Ravelry, this fun little paw print. And the primary thing you need to understand about Colorwork charts is that each of these squares, each of these little rectangles represents a stitch, and the rows are generally numbered. Sometimes you'll only see the odd numbers called out, and the evens might not be. I went ahead and penciled that in on both sides here. Now, you can use charts like this whether you are working flat or working in the round. If you are working in the round, then you simply start by following the chart this way, and that means row number 2 actually begins over here as well, and you just follow this way and work that way and do whichever color is called out by the square that's in the row that you're doing. If you are working flat, you're going to follow this way, and then you're going to come back and you're going to follow number 2 that way, and back and forth and back and forth. Say you're wanting to put this on something that's in the round, the direction that you are working matters. If you are working from the bottom up, or say if you're doing socks and you're doing them toe up, you're going to follow a chart like this is written from the bottom to the top. If you're doing something that is top down, say if you're like me and you prefer doing socks cuff down, you actually need to follow these charts backwards. You need to start at the top and follow them down this way so that you don't end up with your graphic upside down. Also know that what you will find a lot of times is you're going to find a section. Here would probably be about there and over this way and up a couple of squares. You're going to see a red line of some sort, or a heavier line, a line in bold, a line in red or orange, some other color, and what that calls out is that calls out a repeat. So this is going to be one repeat of this pattern, and you would do, say, from this line over to this line, spaced along however many repeats you have available in the space that you're doing the project. That's it. That's all you need to know about doing charts. Of course, you'll want to follow the instructions that are in the book or on other great videos on YouTube on how to manage your floats. Floats is what's going to happen when you, say, work across here with, say you're doing actually this in a black and white. You'll work in white, knit, 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 but here you're going to switch to black or some other dark color. Once you get 1, 2, 3, or maybe 4 in, we have a bunch along here that has that dark color. You can't have the white strand that you're not using at the time just laying there limp behind this without doing anything to secure it and keep your tension good. So periodically along here you're going to do what's called catching or capturing your floats. So that I tend to 1, 2, 3, and I'll catch my float. 1, 2, 3, catch my float. Some people do 2, some people do 4. That's kind of dependent upon your pattern, how many stitches you're working across, and personal preference, personal gauge. So again, refer to the how-to section on wrapping and capturing floats in the back of the Knitovation book, and please enjoy. Hopefully you now feel like you have what you need to dive into Colorwork. Feel free to contact me with any questions and I'll help the best I can. Please let me know if there are any other knitting or crochet related topics or techniques you'd like me to cover. I'm here to help. Take time to make things that make you happy, and thanks for joining me here on the I Heart Yarn channel.